بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. So we're going to talk about al-ma'rifah and nakira and al-idafa today as a continuation of the talk that we started last week when we were talking about al-sifa and na'at, when we were talking about the adjective. In order for us to understand the adjective clearly or properly, we had to talk about the concept of ma'rifah, nakira and idafa. Why? Because when for a noun to be an adjective, it has to meet two criteria in the Arabic language all the time, and the other criteria that are other elements that are partially needed, not always. But for what we definitely need when a word is going to be used as an adjective, so ar-rajulu as-salihu, the adjective has to be like the described noun, has to be like it, be similar to it in two things. In terms of grammatical status, so in grammatical status, what I mean by that is rafa', nasb, and jar. So if this word is marfu', and the marker here of rafa' is dhamma, then this word has to be marfu', and the marker doesn't matter, but it has to be marfu' like it. If it's not marfu', that means it's not an adjective. Second thing, it has to be the same in terms of definiteness, which means ma'rifah and nakira, mu'arraf and munakkar. So if this is mu'arraf, if this is a definite noun, this has to be a definite noun. If this is an indefinite noun, this has to be an indefinite noun. So here, because it has alif and lam, it's a definite noun, and this one has it too. So we're good to say this is an adjective for that. So grammatical statuses we've studied many times. So rafa' and nasb and jar, we've explained that a lot. But definiteness is not a concept that we talked about yet. So I'm going to talk about now. What is a definite noun? What's an indefinite noun? Definite nouns are very simple. There are a number of things. You memorize what a definite noun is, and then everything that's not a definite noun is an indefinite noun. So that's how we go. First of all, ism al-mudmar, which means pronoun. Ism al-mudmar is a pronoun. So huwa, anta, hum, nahnu, etc. Any pronoun, us, them, you, I, me, all those are pronouns. These are definite nouns. Why? Because they speak to something definite. Like logically it's very simple. A definite noun is just saying that it is pointing to something specific. Indefinite is saying something very general. Human, indefinite. The human, right? Definite. So you're just trying, are you specifying or are you talking about something general? Number two, al-ism al-alam. Ism al-alam is a proper noun. So al-ism al-alam, proper noun. Or names. Any name. So Zaid, Ahmed, Mecca, London, anything. So these are proper nouns. These are definite. They're talking about something specific. Number three, al-ism al-mubham. It's an ambiguous noun. Like what? Like dhalika. Like haula. Like tilka. Like hadha. Or hadhihi. All these are definite. In English, these, those, that. Right? These aren't pronouns, are they? What are they called in English? Does anyone know? I don't know what they're called in English. So it's these, that, those are not pronouns. He, him, her, that's a pronoun. But these, that, those aren't. But that's what we're talking about. Because you're definite. You're talking about something specific, right? When you say that, you're talking about something specific. Someone knows what you're talking about in terms of the specificity. After that, anything that has alif and lam at the beginning of it. Any noun that has alif and lam at the beginning of it. So rajul, man, put alif lam al-rajul. Salih, put alif lam al-salih. Anything that has alif and lam becomes immediately the. In English, this is the equivalent of the. Just saying the. That's all it is. The final one, which is the most important, which is why we need to talk about this. ما أضيف إلى أي منها. إلى أي مما سبق. So what is compounded? What is compounded to any of the previous. So any word that is compounded to any of these becomes also a definite noun. What is a-nakira? A-nakira, what the Imam says, كل اسم شائع في جنسه لا يختص به واحد دون آخر وتقريبه كلما صلح دخول الألف واللام عليه نحو الرجل والفرس. كل اسم شائع في جنسه, mean every word that is general within its type or in its kind. So كل اسم شائع في جنسه. So every general noun within its kind, is that the proper? Within its classification, it's a better way of. Examples: man, house, playground, car, country. These are just general nouns that have a huge number of meanings or entities under it that we can't specify any of them. Right? Country, there are many countries. When I say the word country, I'm not specifying anything. Right? The country, someone knows what I'm specifying. When I say the country, maybe you don't know because you weren't at the beginning of this conversation, but those who are part of this conversation, the word the country, they know what I'm talking about. The car, maybe I don't know which car you're talking about, but someone does because you specified it, because you defined it, you made it definite. Now, compoundness. Why do we need to understand compoundness? Because what is compounded? Meaning, and sometimes that's how you have to study Arabic, like one of the criteria, and then, okay, what does compoundness mean? Or else you don't know how to do it. So I have to tell you what compoundness means. This is a very simple concept. It's not very complicated. Take an indefinite noun, and then compound it to a definite noun, and the phrase becomes definite. So if I say kura, ball, is that definite or indefinite? Indefinite. Yeah, so it's nakira, it's indefinite. It is not a pronoun, a proper noun, it's not an ambiguous noun, it doesn't have alif lam, it's not compounded yet, but we can compound it to something. So let's compound it to a pronoun. Let's compound it to, let's say their ball, right, their ball. So then it becomes kuratuhum. Right? And now this is definite. This becomes definite now. Yeah, if it's two. So any pronoun, there's many pronouns, 12 pronouns, any of them at all. Kuratuna, kuratuka, kurati, whatever you want. If you compound it to a pronoun, now it becomes definite. Okay, let's compound it to a proper noun. What would you say? Proper noun? Yeah, so Kuratu Umar. Now this is definite. Because Umar is definite because he's a proper noun. Now Kuratu Umar, you see what happened here. Ball, Umar's ball. Now it's specified. It's not any ball, there are millions of balls in the world. Umar's ball is definite now. Right? So what we're doing is we're just define. It's very logically, it's very simple, but it's Arabic. I need you to understand how it works so that if you see it, you can deal with it. Because this noun, when you looked at it, you knew it was indefinite. Because it's not a pronoun, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, so it's indefinite. But I want to make it definite, so I compound it to one of the previous examples. اسم المبهم, say كرة هؤلاء. The ball of these guys, or these guys' ball. كرة هؤلاء. And then this all becomes definite as well. The most common example is when we attach it to something that has alif and lam. When you attach it to something that has alif and lam. So kuratu talib, the student's ball, or the soccer ball of the student. Of. What compoundness does is this of this. That's what it does. That's what compoundness actually does. Or it makes possession. Right? Meaning you'll find this, apostrophe S, this. That's how compoundness works. I'll give you a few more examples so you understand. Let's say kitab. Kitab al-masjid. Right? So depending on what you mean, it could be the masjid's book or the book of the masjid. Right? Depending on what you mean. Do you mean this book belongs to the masjid, like you're taking out a book and you're saying, or it's a book that is a constitution of the masjid, or it's the booklet that explains how the masjid works, so you say the book of the masjid. In Arabic it's the same. An indefinite noun compounded to a definite noun. Alif and lam is there, so now this whole phrase is definite. Now this guy became definite. He became definite because he's compounded to this guy. All right. Now the flip side of this is that we try to compound it to a indefinite. Would this work? Kitab Masjid doesn't work anymore. Now we're close to having it as an adjective, because now it's indefinite, right? And if they have so we have one criteria taken care of. Now if you have the other one, meaning they're both marfu'a, for example, the mark of rafa al-dhamma. Now it's an adjective, but it means nothing. Kitabun masjidun, a masjid book, a masjidi book, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any meaning. Same thing would happen if I made the first noun definite. So if I said Kitabul Masjid, now we've compounded the book of the masjid's book. If I make this definite by putting alif lam, al Kitabul Masjid, the same thing. Now they're both definite, meaning we're closer to having them as an adjective, which means nothing. Final example. What happens if the first is definite and the second is not definite? What is this, Ya Hamdi? When the first is definite and the second is not. But don't stand in front of the camera because no one can see. Yes. So what does this turn into?
Isn't that I forgot. I only know the one that's.
So this becomes mubtada and khabar. This becomes the subject of in a noun-based sentence, and this becomes the information. Mubtada and khabar at this point. Let's try another example.
What does that mean?
So it becomes a figure of speech. A kitab masjid, the book is a masjid, so it becomes a figure of speech, it becomes a simile. I mean, it's a place for worship or something that, again, I'm not talking about the meanings, I'm just giving you like how the words would work. If one's definite at the beginning, if both are indefinite or both definite, then they're more likely to be adjectives. Or one of them is in the wrong place within the sentence. If the first is definite, the second is not definite, this is more likely to be a full noun-based sentence, mubtada and khabar. If the first is indefinite and the second is definite, it's called compoundness. It becomes the book, something of something, or something's something. That's what it turns into. Yes?
Do you know where my pencil is?
No, I don't. Look around or look in there if you want. Now, I'll tell you why did we study these? We studied these because we were studying the adjective. Why does this matter? Okay, I'll give you why this matters. So, that's yours. I don't know who put there. So, الرجل, right? الرجل صاحب. So what is this right now in terms of a sentence?
The man in the friend.
Yeah, so it becomes mubtada and khabar, right? Because definite, indefinite. So this one, sahib, can't be an adjective. Why? Because they may both have the same grammatical status. They may be both marfu', but this is definite, indefinite, so they're not an adjective. Now if I put an alif and lam here, what happens?
It's
Yeah, now it becomes an adjective. Ar-rajulu sahib, right? Because now they're this. Not only do they have the same grammatical status, they also have the same definiteness status. They're both definite, right? What's another way to make the word sahib definite? So that one way is to add alif lam. You can't turn it into any of these because it's a word, and these are different types of words. But you can either add alif lam or you can do this. You can compound it. How can you compound it? Give me an example of how you could compound this. Sahib what? You'd have to add, you would have to compound it to sahibuhu. So now you compounded it to what? To a pronoun. So rajul sahibuhu. Now this would qualify as being an adjective. Another example is الرجل صاحب المعمل معمل factory. So the man, the owner of the factory, right? So now this could qualify as an adjective. It still works as a khabar if you want it to work as a khabar, but it qualifies as an adjective right now because they're both mu'arad, they're both definite at this point. They're both definite, and they have the same grammatical status. All right. So what we've studied, what we're trying to study, are something called at-tawabi'. I mean, what brought us to this is studying something called at-tawabi'. At-tawabi' are follower nouns. Nouns that will follow other nouns that came before them. They just do whatever those nouns before them do. And there's a criteria for that noun to work in the different types. Because we have 4 types of follower nouns. We have something called a na'at, or a sifa, which is an adjective. And you have something called al-atf, conjunctions, and conjuncted noun to one before it. And you have something called tawkid, the emphasizing noun, and something called badal, the replacement noun. These 4 nouns will be exactly similar to the noun that they are following in the grammatical status. That's what they have in common. What they have in common is that they're similar to the followed noun in grammatical status. Which means what? Which means if the first noun is marfu', in the status of rafa, then they're going to be raf marfu' too. If the second one is mansub in the status of nasab, then they're going to have the same thing. And if the third one is majroor, it's also going to be, they're going to be the same thing. So that's what they have in common. Now in na'at, in addition to this, it needs to be the same as the followed noun in what? Indefiniteness. They also have to be both definite or both indefinite for it to work. However, this to work, the adjective has to be similar to the described noun in, of course, grammatical status, which is something they all have in common. All following nouns have this in common. It's called following nouns. They follow other nouns. And then the rest of them, for the adjective, it has to be exactly the same in terms of definiteness and indefiniteness. So they have to be the same as well. Okay. So that's definiteness, indefiniteness, and compoundness. We'll talk about these again very soon. Now the final piece of information in terms of compoundness that I'm going to explain is that when we compound an indefinite noun to a definite noun, you end up with something. So lu'aba means toy, any toy. At-tifl, the kid's toy, right? The kid's toy. Shh. Either listen or go. Okay, don't sit down here and talk. The message is huge. Go sit and talk over there. We don't want people distracting us. Okay, either sit. Yasin, am I clear? Either listen or you can go sit over there. I don't mind. Just don't sit here and talk. So lu'abatu at-tifl. So the kid's toy, or the toy of the kid. Now here's an indefinite noun being compounded to a definite noun. So it's compoundness. And this whole phrase now is definite because of the fact that an indefinite noun is compound to a definite one. Now what is the constant of this phrase? The constant of this phrase is that this word here is always going to be what? This word here will always be yes. Go ahead, Abdul will always be majroor. Always. It will always be majroor. Right? The compounded noun, the compounded to noun, this one here is called mudaf ilayh. It will be called mudaf ilayh grammatically all the time. And it will always be majroor. So what's the marker of jar on tifl? Kasra. All the time. Example, a more famous example that we all know. Rasul, messenger. Rasul is a very, is it definite or indefinite? Indefinite, right? It's not a pronoun, it's not a proper noun, it's not an ambiguous noun, it doesn't have alif and lam, and it's not compounded yet. But if you compound it to the name of Allah, which is a proper noun, right? Rasulullah. Now this becomes a definite term. Now what is the constant in this phrase? That the name of Allah is going to be what? Yeah, so what is the marker of jar on the name of Allah? So it's always Rasul Allahi. Whether it's Rasulullahi, Rasulallahi, or Rasulillahi, it's always going to have to say.
You say it has to match.
This is not an adjective, this is compoundness. Remember? An adjective has to match. But this is compoundness. That's why we had to study compoundness in order for us to understand an adjective. Because an adjective, yes, it has to be exactly the same. So an adjective would be like this. An example of an adjective would be, so for the same noun, lu'batun jamila. Right? Jamila is indefinite, like lu'ba, same thing. And we're going to give them both rafa'. Now this becomes an adjective, a beautiful toy. Take example from here. Rasul Kareem. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Rasulun Kareem, right? So if you give them the same status of grammar, Rasulun Kareem, now it's an adjective. But here they're being attached to indefinite to definite. Indefinite to definite turns into compoundness. And the compounded to noun is always majroor. Okay. That was just the last piece of information that I needed you to take a moment to think about. Okay. Now we're going to do al-atf. Al-atf. With this chapter of conjunction. So number one was an-nat, we did adjective. Today we're going to do al-atf and try to do tawkid as well. They're not very difficult. The first one, nat, is hard because there's two pieces of the criteria in order for it to work. But for al-atf, for conjunctions, it's not as difficult. Conjunction. So what does conjunction in English mean? Let's first of all read what the Imam says here. وحروف العطف 10. There are 10 letters or prepositions that are conjunction prepositions. Yes?
You only gave us 8.
Yeah, that's all we're going to do. الواو والفاء وثم وأو وأم وإما وبل ولا ولكن وحتى في بعض المواضع. So these are the conjunction prepositions that we're going to use. فإن عطفت على مرفوع رفعت أو على منصوب نصبت أو على مخفوض خفضت. So if you conjunct, what's the verb for conjunction? Conjunct? Conjugate? Maybe. So if I think conjoined. Yeah. So if we conjoin one noun to the other, is going to follow it in what, Ya Hamdi? Yes. If the first one is marfu', it's going to be marfu'. If the first noun is mansub, it's going to be mansub. If the first one is majroor, it's going to be majroor. If we can join two nouns, it's always going to follow it in its grammatical state. Does it need any other criteria? Conjunction? No, it doesn't need any other criteria. So let me give you the example. Hamdi. No, Hamdi is hard to put a marker on. So Muhammadun wa Ahmed. So wa is a conjunction preposition, right? So Muhammad and Ahmed. So what is Ahmed going to be? Yeah, it's going to be marfu' like Muhammad. How do you make it? What's the marker of rafa for Ahmad? Yeah. Muhammadun wa Ahmadu. And if it was Muhammadin, it'd be Muhammadin. Okay, let's make that easier. If it's Muhammadan, it'll be Muhammadan wa Ahmada. Okay? And if it's Muhammadin, Muhammadin wa Ahmada, because Ahmad is one of the words that is called mamnu' min al-sarf or غير munsarif. I mean, it can't carry a kasra at the end of it. Some proper nouns can't carry kasras at the end of them, like Ibrahim and Fir'aun, right? And Qarun. You can't say Ibrahimi or Fir'auni or Qaruni. So Ibrahima, Fir'auna, Qaruna. It doesn't take a kasra on the end of it. Even when it's...
Why did you put a space between the wow and the... Is it connected?
No, they're not. They're different. The preposition is disconnected from the word after it. Yeah, they're not the same. Okay, so let's talk about the conjunction. Prepositions. Conjunction prepositions. All right. So the first one that the Imam talks about is al-waw. In English, and. Right? In English, it's and. After that, al-fa. What's the difference between waw and fa? Go ahead. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So if I said, here's where these things become important. If I said Ja'a Muhammadun wa Ahmadu. All these are conjunctions. All these are conjunction prepositions. We're going to put down a number of them and count a few of them. What do? They conjoin one noun, a following noun, right, with the followed noun. Yeah. Which all that means is that the status of grammar for this is going to be the grammatical status of this. That's all it means. But what are the difference of these? Because in English, all we have really is and or. And maybe one more, not. So like we have maybe one or two extra in English. But in Arabic, you have a lot. The differences are very subtle. Ja'a Muhammadun wa Ahmad means they both came at the same time. Or it means that we don't care about the sequence that they came in. Right? It's not important. Or that we're just prioritizing Muhammad because he's the leader of the gang. That's why we put Muhammad first. I mean, he's the leader. But in time and sequence, they didn't come. They walked in together. Or we just don't care who came first. Doesn't matter. Maybe Ahmad came before Muhammad, but Muhammad is the leader, so we called out his name first. Now, if we change that, جاء محمد فأحمد. That means specifically that Muhammad came and then Ahmad came, with a very, very short period of time between them. So we're standing in front of the door, Muhammad walks in, and then Ahmad walks in maybe a minute later, or a bit less or a bit more. So fa means someone's following someone else in time, but a very short timing. All right. After that, thumma. Thumma, what is, so if you write the same example, Ja'a Muhammadun Thumma Ahmadu. What does thumma mean here? Al-Mu'in?
That means Muhammad came first, then after a very long time.
Yeah, so a long time. Yeah, so there's a time, the time here is much later. So this means and then, but a short period of time. This one here means and then, but a long period of time. Thumma means there's a significant amount of time between them. Thumma. All right. After that, oh. All these do exactly this. They conjoin, they're conjunction prepositions. They conjoin two nouns, a noun, another noun, and they're going to be similar to each other in grammatical status. So if this guy's marfu', he's going to be marfu'. If he's mansoob, he's going to be mansoob. If he's maksur, he's going to be maksur. Or majroor, he's going to be majroor, sorry. That's all it does. And any of these could be here, any of them. They have different meanings, they serve different purposes from a linguistic perspective, but they have the same grammatical, they serve the same grammatical purpose. Aw means or. So if I say Ja'a Muhammadun, Aw Ahmed, one of them came. I didn't care to look enough, I don't know, Muhammad or Ahmed came, I don't know. Ja'a Muhammad and Ahmed, one of them came. Either Muhammad or Ahmed came, I don't know. That's what it means. So one of them happened for one of them, right? Still, same thing, they still Aw and Waw are almost I'm not going to say they're the opposite, but they're very different, right? But grammatically, they serve the exact same purpose. Nothing changes. This is a conjoined noun to this one. It's for follower, and it's going to have the exact same grammatical status with no difference. Okay. After Aw, I'm going to leave and imma. I'm going to go to bal, la, and lakin, and just leave those because some of them are rarely used and just will complicate this, and we don't need to complicate it. So let's start with la first. La means not. So Ja'a Muhammadun La Ahmed. Who came? Yeah, who didn't come? Right? So this guy came, this guy didn't. All right. Bal. And then lakin. Sorry?
What is
Is like very simple, very similar, just a different context. Lakin with a sukoon, not lakinna. Lakinna, if you remember, is a preposition that is similar to a verb, and we studied that as a grammatical factor a couple of lessons before. Lakin is a preposition. So if I were to say Ja'a Muhammadun Bal Ahmed, who came? Who came, Ya Abdul Ma'in? Yeah. So what does Bal do?
The opposite way from that.
Yeah, what La does. So La says the next one is wrong, the first one's right. Bal says the second one is right, the first one is wrong. So it's like you made a mistake. It's like you said Ja'a Muhammad Bal Ahmed. It's like you actually made a mistake. So Muhammad didn't come, Ahmed came. Yeah. And this is called Lil-Idrab. This is Al-Istidrak. I don't know. I can only do so much in translation. Lakin is usually used when there's a nafi. I mean, when there's some form of denying something. So you would say Ma Ja'a Muhammad. You would say Ma Ja'a Muhammad Lakin Ahmed. And that would mean that Ahmed came. That's the more common use of it. But it has other uses as well. It could be used like Bal too. So sometimes these two are used almost with the exact same purpose. Bal is just more harsh. Bal is just a much more harsh word. Lakin is a bit easier. Like it's a bit simpler. Bal is like however. Bal and lakin almost mean however in a sentence. Even though it's not a conjunction in English, but it is in Arabic. So he came, however, no, he came. So it's a change, it's kind of a change of course of the sentence. And those are the conjunction prepositions. Wa, wa, fa, thumma, aw, la, bal, lakin. Everything else we don't need to study. Hatta is one of them. There's a scholar of linguistics who on his deathbed said, I am going to die today and I'm still not 100% sure about hatta. He was a scholar of Nahu, And as he died, he said, I'm leaving this world, وَلَمْ يُشْفَ غَلِيلِي مِنْ حَتَّى, and I'm still not satisfied with my understanding of this of this preposition. It's a very complicated one. It can mean different things. Sometimes it's used as a conjunction preposition, but because it has so many other usages, we're just not going to talk about it. And other ones are a bit more complicated, so we're going to leave them out. Yes?
How do you spell
Imma? And so these are two other ones that we didn't talk about because they're just complicated and there's no point. What I need you to remember are these. Waw, fa, thumma, aw, la, bal, lakin. Alright? So the Quran, I'm going to give you a few examples. If you open the Surah Al-Ahzab, for example, you would find إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات. Keeps on counting. Every time you see a waw, you know there's a conjunction, right? Conjunction, conjunction, conjunction. It goes down for at least another 11 examples, right? They're all being conjoined to which word? To which word? Yes. Conjoined to the first noun, al-muslimin. Now, because inna is a grammatical factor, it will come and do what? It will affect the mubtada, right? What does it do to the mubtada, ya Hamdi?
It gives it mansub.
Yeah, it makes it mansub. So this should be muslimun, but because this guy came and affected it, it's now muslimin. It's mansub, right? So this is mansub. So al-muslimat is going to be what? Mansub or majroor or marfu'? It's going to be like the first one. It's going to be mansub. So what is the marker of nasb in the feminine sound plural? Kasra. Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Muslimat. You never say muslimata, ever. Ever. It doesn't exist. A feminine sound plural cannot carry a fatha. It'll always be a kasra.
How come the Muslimin
What?
how come it's yeah?
Well, I asked you, what does inna do to the mubtada? What does it do to it? So yeah. So the Muslim, the sound masculine plural, what could it be? It's either what? It's either muslimuna or muslimina. There's no muslimani. That becomes two. Right? So the marker is either waw for rafa' or ya for nasb and jar. Right? And we talked about this a while back. That's for example in the Quran. Yes, what do you want to, yes, Abdul Ma'in. You have a question? You have a question? Okay. So, الآمرون بالمعروف والناهون عن المنكر. So here is a conjunction preposition. It is conjoining this word with which word before it? This one over here. Right? This is marfu'. What is the marker of rafi' on this one, ya Hamdi? Al-waw. It's either amirun or amirin, right? So the waw, al-amirun. So it's marfu', so this guy's going to be marfu' too, and the marker is going to be waw, an-nahun. In English, we put when we conjoin, we put commas, right? So if I have like 5 things I want to say, I'll say Ahmed, Hamdi, Adnan, and Sharif, and then we continue the sentence. In Arabic, you don't do that. That's not how it works. When you're adding, when you're conjoining, you just keep on putting and in the form of waw. So you would say Ahmed, وحمدي وعدنان وشريف.
I've seen the wow connected sometimes. Is that
Probably just too close. It's probably just someone who wrote it just made it too close, but they're usually, it's separated from the word before it. So in Arabic, you just keep on putting wow. And wow means that the timing of their entrance or their, what happened isn't important, or it happened at the exact same time. The fa means that it's after it, but a very short period of time. Thumma means it's after it, and there's a long period of time between them. Aw is or, la is not, to deny this whatever came after it. Bal is to deny whatever became, bal and lakin deny whatever comes before it. So Ja'a Muhammadun bal Ahmad denied Muhammad. Ahmad is the one who came. That makes sense? And they're all conjunction prepositions. What happens to the conjoined noun? It is similar to the followed noun in grammatical status. That's all you need to know in terms of conjunctions. Okay. تقول قام زيد وعمر. Examples he's giving. ورأيت زيدا وعمرا. There's mansub. If they're both marfu', they're both marfu'. If they're both mansub, both mansub. If the first is mansub, the second is mansub. وَمَرَرْتُ بِزَيْدٍ وَعَمْرٍ. So the first is majroor, the second one is also majroor. وَزَيْدٌ لَمْ يَقُمْ وَلَمْ يَقْعُدْ. And that is conjoining two sentences, which is something that we're going to talk about inshallah a bit later. Okay. That's al-atf. No? Yeah, that is very simple. Atf is very simple. Atf is not complicated. Now, after that, we have something called at-tawkid. So at-tawkid, or the chapter of emphasis. We're still talking about what? Following nouns. The third type of following noun. At-tawkidu, the emphatic article. So a tawkid as a noun is called the emphatic noun or the emphatic article. Follows the emphasized object in its grammatical status. تابع للمؤكد في رفعه ونصبه وخفضه وتعريفه. All right. التوكيد is similar to the adjective in terms that it follows the emphasized noun, not only in its grammatical status but also in its level or status of definiteness. Meaning if the first one's definite, then the second one, then the tawkid has to be also definite. So emphasis, this is the chapter. The word is called a tawkid, and it's being the emphatic noun, and it comes and emphasizes another noun, right? So I'm going to give you an example. Zaydun nafsuhu. What this translates into is Zayd himself. If I told you Zayd himself came, what is himself? Zayd came, right? So let's make this a sentence. Ja'a Zaydun nafsuhu. In English, what is this? I don't know what it is in English, I know what it is in Arabic. In Arabic it's called tawkid. That's what it's called in Arabic, yes?
It's like emphasizing that.
Yeah, right? So we're emphasizing something. So nafsuhu, right, is a tawkid. It's called a tawkid. This is here called a tawkid. And this word here is called al-mu'akkad, the emphasized noun. This is called al-mu'akkad, the emphasized noun. Tawkid has to follow the mu'akkad because it's a following noun. It has to follow the emphasized noun in two things. In grammatical status, that's what we agreed that all these nouns are going to do. And indefiniteness. Just like an adjective. Just like an adjective. Well, how do we know the difference between an emphasizing noun and an adjective? Well, because emphasizing nouns actually only have a certain number of words you can use. Like it's easy to remember the emphasizing noun because you can only use a certain number of words. So the first word we talked about was nafsuhu, nafs. Or you can say aynuhu. Ayn doesn't mean I, also means his entity, right? Exact same. So you can word the word aynuhu. You can say kulluhu, all of him, right? You can say ajma'uhu. So there's certain words that we use. We can't use just any word. Any word can be an adjective. Any word can describe another word, whether literally or figuratively. But in terms of the tawqid, in terms of talking about an emphatic noun, we can only talk about a few words that work. Here the Imam, when he talks about it, he says, وَيَكُونُ بِأَلْفَاظٍ مَعْلُومَةٍ. And the emphatic state is established with the following words. النفس والعين وكل وأجمع وتوابع أجمع وهي أكتع وأبتع. I mean, there are other words like أجمع that the Arabs used to use. أبتع, and no one cares about these. No one uses them. I've never heard them used in my life. Never read them in any book. So they're kind of, you know, they're obsolete. تقول قام زيد نفسه ورأيت القوم كلهم ومررت بالقوم أجمعين. All right. What does the emphatic noun offer in terms of meanings in a sentence? What does it offer? An adjective will offer a fresh meaning, something that probably didn't exist in terms of wasn't there before. But what does an emphatic noun do? It just emphasizes something that you already knew. It doesn't offer anything new. If I say جاء زيد, right? And I say جاء زيد نفسه, nothing's really been added here. But there's usually a context for this that is important. Meaning, we weren't expecting Zayd to actually show up himself, right? We didn't expect it. Or maybe there's two Zayds. There's an important Zayd and a less important Zayd in this story. So you want to tell me that no, the actual guy came, not his representative, not his lawyer, not his friend. He came. جاء زيد نفسه. He came himself, right? And so there's usually a context for the story. If I'm going to take the word كلهم, I'm going to add it. I'm going to change it a bit. I'm going to say كلهم, right? كلهم. I'm going to say رأيت القوم. Well, let's say جاء, just to make this simpler. So جاء القوم, the people came. كلهم, all of them. Now, all of them is implied when you say the people came. But when you say all of them, what you're doing is you're just emphasizing that no one was missing. And apparently within the context, that was important. To say that no one was missing was an important piece of information, because maybe you were thinking a few of them weren't going to show up, or some people said that they didn't want to come. Yes? Yeah, كلهم أجمعون. So two emphatic nouns in a row. Like in the Quran, فَسَجِدَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ كُلُّهُمْ أَجْمَعُونَ. Right? So كُلُّهُم and أَجْمَعُون. أجمعون. So all of them, each and every one of them. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that every single malaika did sujood. It was only Iblis who said no. He didn't have a group of guys who were he was just starting a mutiny. He was the only one to even think not to do it. So what do we know about tawqid is going to follow indefiniteness? Zayd, is it definite or indefinite? Definite, right? It's a proper noun. What about nafs? Definite or indefinite? Say it again? Yeah, because it's compounded to a pronoun. Right? It's definite because it's compounded to a pronoun. Correct? And here it is two. They're always compounded to pronouns, by the way. It's always how they're used. They have to be compounded to a pronoun all the time. Just give me a second. These two means himself or themselves, etc. This means all of something, all of them, yeah. So it has to be the same in definiteness, and it has to be the same in what? In grammatical status. So tell me, Hamdi, Zayd, what is it here in this sentence? What is Zayd in this sentence? Yeah, why is it marfu'a? You're right. Yeah, but what is he? He's a fa'il, right? He's a subject. So the fa'il here is going to be marfu'a, correct? So we give it a dhamma. So what is nafsuhu going to be? Doesn't have to be the same? Yeah, so what are you going to give nafs? Where would you give it? Yes, always before the pronoun. So on the scene. So nafsuhu. So جاء القوم, the same thing. If this is a tawkid, emphasizing noun or emphatic noun, then it's going to be definite like this one, and it is definite just like this one, and it's always going to be a pronoun. And it's going to have the same grammatical status. This is marfu', so this is going to be كلهم. جاء القوم كلهم. If I were to change this word and I said رأيت, now this is an object, it's going to be mansoob, so رأيت القوم. So what happens to this guy here? كلهم, right? It will always follow this. Following nouns, na'at, atuf, tawkid, and badal will always follow in grammatical status. Rafa' and nasb and jar, always will. Some of them have extra criteria, like the adjective. It has to be also similar in definiteness. Just like the tawkid, it has to be similar in definiteness. But also the tawkid only has a few words it can work with. So when I say the word tawkid to you, you think of 4 basic words. You think of nafs, ayn, kull, and ajma'. These are the words that you care for. So whenever we say the word tawkid, whenever we study the emphatic noun, we're thinking of nafs, ayn, kull, and ajma'. You gave me the perfect example that I wanted to use. The example was فَسَجَدَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. So al-malaika is the subject and they're marfu'a. So now the 2 emphatic nouns are going to be also marfu'a. So kulluhum, where's it going to get, ya Hamdi? Kulluhum. Just like that one. Ajma'un. Marfu'a as well in the waw, because it's a sound masculine plural. فَسَجَدَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ in 2 emphasizing nouns. There's one more thing we're going to talk about in terms of emphatic nouns. The simplest way to emphasize a noun is what in Arabic? The simplest way. Not even using these 4. The simplest way. Think, you know, and tell me. Yeah. No. With a noun, that's with a preposition. You're right. You emphasize. But there's a simpler way with a noun. All right, I'll show you how. So you would say this. This is very common in the Arabic language. جاء أحمد أحمد. You just repeat the noun. And then the second one is an emphasizing noun. Just repeat the noun. Just repeat it again. And that is called tawkid lafzi. It's called a literal emphasizing noun. This is called a figurative emphatic noun. This is called a literal emphatic noun. You're just repeating the word. And they do that a lot in Arabic. Like they do it more than when you think. Is there time for that? Okay. So I'll give you an example. They say, Nahmadullah. We praise Allah. Hamdan. Hamda. The first one has a proper grammatical status. The second one is just an emphasize of this one. Nahmadullah hamdan hamda. Nashkurullah shukran shukra. Right? So this is just a tawkid, just an emphasizing noun. You don't need it really, you can take it out, but it emphasizes the meaning that you're using. So that's the simplest way to emphasize a noun. Just repeat it again. And you can repeat it as many times as you want. However, if you repeat it more than once, it becomes redundant and useless. Meaning from a linguistic and logical perspective, it has no extra meaning at all. You just repeat it once and that's enough. Wait, to quickly try to just revise what we talked about. So the final following noun is going to be al-badal. And we're going to talk about al-badal inshallah next time because it's a bit longer. There's more to talk about. It's the chapter of substitution where you substitute a noun with another one. They're both in the sentence, but just one is substituting it with a certain meaning that is emphasized. But the following nouns are 4 types. The first one is na'at, which is adjective. Second one is a conjunction, al-ataf, meaning a conjoined noun to another noun. And the third one is tawkid, which is an emphatic noun. What's common amongst all these nouns is that they are similar to the followed noun in grammatical status. If the followed noun is marfu', then they're going to be marfu'. Whether it's an adjective, a conjoined noun, or an emphatic noun, they're always going to be the same in grammatical status. Whether marfu', mansoob, majroor, they're going to have the same grammatical status. Now there are extra conditions for other specific nouns. So for na'at, you need it to be also similar indefiniteness and indefiniteness. So if the followed noun is definite, then the adjective not only has to have the same status of rafa', nasb or jar, it also has to have the same status of definiteness. And we talked about definiteness and compoundness as a concept that is attached to that. Atuf does not need that. Atuf does not necessarily need that. Tawqeed needs it to be also the same in definiteness, but tawqeed only has 4 options of words. Nafs, ayn, kull, ajma'. Nafsuhu, aynuhu, kulluhu, aw ajma'uhu. Or nafsuhum, aynuhum, ajma'una, or ajma'uhum, or kulluhum. So it has to be the same in the grammatical status, and it has to be the same in definiteness. Is it a definite noun? Then this has to be also definite by conjoining it, or compounding it, by compounding it to a pronoun here in this example. The simplest way for you to emphasize a noun, the simplest emphatic noun, is just for you to repeat the word again. If you see in Arabic text somewhere where the word is repeated twice in a row, then the second one is always a tawqeed. It's always an emphatic noun. It's a literal emphatic noun. Right? And in Arabic it serves a purpose. Just if you do it too many times, it becomes redundant and useless. Once serves a purpose to emphasize the concept. And it's a part, for example, of this known dua, nahmadullah hamdan hamda, nashkurullah shukran shukra, is something that is quite common. So next time inshallah we'll continue by talking about the chapter of substitution. Jazakumullah khair, subhanakallah bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakumullah khair.